Hey nerds, it's Nathan, and here is my second book review that I'm going to pump out. Hopefully, you watched the first one I did today, which was Ecstasia. If you haven't, check it out. Because, well, what else are you doing on YouTube? Watch my videos. Today we're reviewing Sisters of the Vast Black. Now I'm going to read you the blurb on the back, and yes, this is a very, very thin book. This is a little novella. I'm going to read you the blurb on the back, and then I'm going to get into it. They lived at the very outer bounds of what was known. Years ago, old Earth sent forth sisters and brothers into the vast dark of the prodigal colonies, armed with only crucifixes and iron faith. Now, the Sisters of the Order of St. Rita are on an interstellar mission of mercy aboard Our Lady of the Impossible Constellations, a living, breathing ship that seems determined to develop a will of its own. When the Order receives a distress call from a newly formed colony, the Sisters discover that the bodies and souls in their care are that of the galactic diaspora. God, fuck me and my dyslexia right now. End of that of the galactic diaspora are in danger. And not from the void beyond, but from the nascent central governance and the church itself. Now, I'm pretty sure I brutalized all that, and you got none of it. So, this is a really, really good little book. This is probably one of my favorite of the year so far, and I made a post on my Instagram, which I might actually link. I don't do that enough, but I'll link to my Instagram. But, so, the idea is that a group of nuns, a group of sisters and their mother superior are inside a living ship. Now, biomechanics or biomachinery is fascinating concept to me. I love the idea of living, breathing technology. It's fucking cool. Okay, I love the idea of it. They go into it a little bit. It's a short book, but they go into a fair few details, and one of them was the original conception of these living ships, these creatures which are purposely bred and shaped to house people and then take them across space. And because they're created for the church, they're actually consecrated. They're considered holy ground or holy beasts. Wow, there's so much going on in this tiny little book. It's awesome. I'm sorry if you can hear the birds and the kids next door. It's like the nicest part of the day. It's been raining all day. My nose is a bit stuffy. My hay fever has been a bit today, so excuse me if I sound a bit stuffy. Excuse the background noise. Everyone's trying to make use of the last part of the afternoon before it pisses down rain again. This, I don't know if anyone's actually read a Warhammer book or they know of Warhammer, but there's a faction called the Sisters of Battle, and this kind of intergalactic women's church. It feels a little bit like that. Obviously, there's no like, death to everybody and holy rhetoric and epic space battles. None of that is happening in this book, but there is a great deal of like let me get back to you. Alright, I think I've thought of the words. So, there's a great deal of humanizing elements. Okay, so we have a backstory as to what has actually happened in the universe, or this galaxy, I should say, and it's broken up into 4 sectors. the church and central government went to war, or the people fought back, and there was like a rebel system. And now this is the story set in the aftermath of the collapse of the central governance, even though it's actually slowly building its power again with aid of the church, considering they were once enemies. The sisters are just that. They're just roaming sisters. They don't necessarily just bring faith to people, but they ordain marriages and births, and they do baptisms, and they help colonies. That's their whole role. Their role is to simply be a source of good, not necessarily a source of eat shit, here's some Jesus. And so there's a lot of these human elements to our characters. We only follow a handful of characters within the ship itself, but the lives of the sisters inside this living ship, and the lives that they had outside of it before they started traveling through the black, is actually very interesting. It has a very genuine feel about it, and it sort of has this really wonderful connective tie. You want to read about them. You can just look at them and be like, they're sisters, they're nuns, they're women of the faith, they're women of the cloth, so therefore they fit inside a very narrow scope of like our stereotypical understanding. We see it and we just go, they're goody fervent, do-gooders. No, actually it's not entirely the case. Some of these women escaped the war and chose the path to atone for particular sins that they believed they could never make up for. Others walked down this line because they didn't really have any other choice. Some literally joined the church so that they had a place where they knew they would have food and safety originally, and then they sort of built a life out of it. And some of the sisters even comment, and they know this about one another. They not necessarily know their past. They're not really supposed to talk about their past. Who they were before they joined the church is inconsequential, and they all know that, and they all follow this rule. But some of them sort of needle at each other about the fact that, like, you do the bare minimum of your holy responsibilities and your responsibilities within the ship. You're not necessarily dedicated, but that doesn't make you a bad person, and the living ships, seriously, I love this idea of biomechanicism. I love the idea of living technology, growing technology, messing with a genetic structure to such a degree that you can then, I'm normally not that popular, to a degree that you can create an entirely new life form to a very, very specific purpose is super cool. But then there are also nuns. They also live in a point of, like, essentially poverty, and when they go to these new colonies have basically fuck all. They have enough to get them started, and they're supposed to make their way through the rest of their day, essentially. So there's this extreme contrast. The church has all this massive power, and obviously a very unique handling on a very, very minute area of scientific exploration, which is living ships, and they keep this secret very well guarded. And then everybody else who's trying to recover from the war and trying to continuously expand so that they can have farmlands and food and just general colonization, just generally exploring and making a life for yourself somewhere else apart from where you came from and the circumstances that you were born into. And then the sisters themselves also live this sort of life of piety. They have this incredible technology, and some of the sisters constantly talk about how in awe they are that something could be creating, that someone could have created this, that God could have created this, and yada yada yada. So it's a really, really, really good little story. Like, look how thin this is. It's less than 200 pages. Hold on, how many pages is it? That's the acknowledgements. That's the shit at the back. 100 155 pages. That's it. 155 pages. And this book packs a punch. It has got so much stuff in it. There is a history background to it. There is fucking space, like alien, not alien, it's not even alien, it's just living spaceships. It's got this understanding of faith, and it's got the people that actually perform it are not necessarily these robots. They're not necessarily these doctrine wielding like psychopaths. They're actually people. And then there's a small grasp where we see the people's culture on this colony that they try and settle and they try and help. And then when the central government, you see them creeping back with their power when they start trying to intervene, and the sisters then go out and literally try and save these people from the interference of the central governance. As like, and they risk it all. They risk it all to interfere with the central government. So, and I will not give away the ending, but fuck me, man, what a book! What a punch! It literally has so much. It gives you the information you need on the background. It gives you all these teeny tiny little stories and tidbits about the sisters' lives before and during the church. It gives you this beautiful glimpse. What the fuck? Glimpse at the mixture of various cultures that are coming together when they colonize, when they try and start something new for themselves to make something for their families. And then this big fuck off military style, not invasion, but kind of like intimidation that comes from the central government. I mean, it's fucking, honestly, it's so good. It is so good. I can't explain to you how much I enjoyed this book. I really can't. I can't explain to you how much I enjoyed the amount that was in this book, considering there is fuck all to this book. 155 pages, and yet there is enough here to digest to make something really, really spectacular. They're like, the concepts in this book alone could be a set, easy. It could be a trilogy. It could be a series. That's the word I'm looking for. A series. You could actually make a series of small books out of all the concepts in here, all the ideas. If you just filled in more of the background, if you filled in more of the bizarre science of the living ship, if you filled in more about the war and the central government and the church and now their unity together after the fall, because basically they want to save Holy Earth, because Holy Earth was just cut off from everybody else after the war. They got fucked hard, and yet they're still the most powerful force in this, like, the galaxy, this solar system, in the Milky Way, because they have everything. They still have all the ties. They still have all the technology. They still have all the wealth. So, it's really interesting. I reckon it would be a great series. So, Lina Rather, I hope that's how you say it. Lina? Maybe Lina? I'm terrible with authors' names, as you can see. I'm going to find more of her work. Because this was absolutely one of my favorites. If you like space nuns, if you like sci-fi in general, if you like short novellas, or if you like stories with a lot of, like, just a lot of meat to chew, if you like stuff where it has a little bit of everything, this is it. Grab this novella. I reckon if you, like, a good reader, someone who's not, like, super duper dyslexic like I am, I reckon they could finish this in, like, an hour. Alright, I read a little bit of this for, like, a handful of, like, at a time for a handful of days. I think I finished it in a handful of days. I think I read maybe, like, 25 pages a day or something, which is not much at all. Seriously, so good. Cannot recommend it enough. Yeah, go get yourself some Space Nuns. That's all I'm going to say. Sisters of the Vast Black. Okay? Sisters of the Vast Black by Lina Rather. Go get yourself some. Please, go get yourself some.